tech-savvy gamer here. And today we are going to continue with reading Halo Reborn. Last time we left Axel and his team of MCUs. They were on the Orion-class carrier heading to Eridanus 2 to help fight some of these insurrectionists, but they ran into some trouble with some of the Marines of the UNSC and how they didn't like the robotic soldiers. So, as always, if you've liked the content so far, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads for the series. And without further ado, let's continue. Now in the year 2511, insurrectionists were starting to become active once again. The United Rebel Front had taken control of Teribus Island and used it as a staging point for their operations across the planet. Axel and his battalion of MCUs are to head to Teribus Island and eliminate the insurrectionists' hideout, taking anybody who surrenders as prisoner. Once they arrived above the planet, the 5 pelicans carrying Axel and the MCUs flew out of the hangar of the carrier and to the surface of the planet. As the pelicans descended towards the lush green surface of Eridanus 2, Axel could see the beauty of the planet. Once they landed on Teribus Island, Axel and his team quickly disembarked from their dropships and took cover behind nearby trees and rocks. They were immediately met with resistance as gunfire erupted from the insurrectionists' hideout. But let's go back a few minutes before Axel and his MCUs actually landed on the planet. The admiral who was in charge of taking Axel to Eridanus 2 had contacted somebody on the ground just before Axel had left. "Colonel, the target is heading towards the location now," said the admiral to Colonel Robert Watts. "How many are we talking, Admiral?" asked Colonel Watts. "5 pelicans, with about 100 MCUs in each. But with your superior numbers, it shouldn't be a problem, Colonel," responded the admiral. However, Colonel Watts was a little bit concerned, since while he didn't think that those robots could win, one must remember that they are not normal soldiers, so a single shot in the right spot for a human might not stop them in the same way. Watts knew that these MCUs were not like normal soldiers. They were faster, stronger, and more durable than any human soldier could ever be. A single shot to the head might not even faze them. "I'll take your word, Admiral," was the last thing Colonel Watts said as he ended the call. Fast forward back to the present, and Axel was taking cover behind a tree as the MCUs spread out to the surrounding area. Taylor was close behind Axel, hiding behind a tree. He had training with a rifle, and his aim was a little below average, which is why he was hiding behind the tree with Axel, and not actually shooting. Meanwhile, Axel returned fire with the rest of the MCU units, while Lieutenant Talia was behind another tree beside Axel, also returning fire. He didn't even need to tell the MCUs what to do, as once they hit the ground, Hammer had already started organizing the battalion into separate divisions to start pushing the enemy back. The battle on Teribus Island raged on, with Axel and his battalion of MCUs pushing forward relentlessly against the Insurrectionists. The sound of gunfire and explosions filled the air as they advanced, taking out enemy combatants one by one. As they moved forward, Axel noticed a group of rebels, trying to flank them from the right. Without hesitation, he signaled for a portion of the MCUs to break off and intercept the enemy forces. The robots moved swiftly and efficiently, overpowering the rebels with their superior strength and firepower. With each passing minute, the Insurrectionists' resistance began to crumble under the coordinated assault led by Axel and his MCU units. Lieutenant Talia fought fiercely beside them, her expert marksmanship picking off enemy snipers with deadly accuracy. Finally, after what felt like hours of intense combat, the last pockets of resistance were wiped out. The once bustling hideout of the United Rebel Front now lay in ruins, smoke rising from the debris. That is what Axel thought, but what he didn't know was that Colonel Watts had managed to escape during the battle and had fled the island to the nearby continent. He didn't even contact the Admiral and instead went into hiding, since right now he was so infuriated with the Admiral. He was told that these robots could not overpower them and they were just pieces of metal that could be destroyed with bullets. But instead, the robot's armor was tough, and it took a lot of bullets to take just one down. After the first few minutes of the battle, Colonel Watts knew that they were being overwhelmed despite their superior numbers. He didn't want to die after he just started up the resistance once again. Instead, it was better to live and fight another day. For Axel, this victory would be the first of many to come. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges and dangers, but Axel was more determined than ever to carve out his own destiny among the stars. Chapter 10. Axel had searched the Insurrectionist hideout and found some important information left behind. To be precise, he found the messages and secret emails between a person named Oswald Johnson and Colonel Watts. But if one looked further, it was obvious that the person on the end was somebody from the UNSC. And with Axel's knowledge and evidence, he linked this Oswald Johnson person back to the Admiral aboard the carrier. Axel made sure to save all the information so that he could submit a more detailed report to the UNSC higher-ups when he returned to his facility. He would let the Admiral believe that he was getting away with collaborating with the enemy, at least for now. Because if he submits it now, then the Admiral might be able to get away, since who knows how deep his connections really go. He could have somebody in the top brass working with him, which would only alert him if he submits the information mid-mission. But his main reason was the fact that he didn't want to have to go through the process of explaining how he got the information on the Admiral, which may or may not reveal his ability to be able to get into the UNSC systems. So for now, he would withhold all the information that he had collected until he returned back to his facility. From there, he would leak the information on the Admiral to the UNSC anonymously, and then let the top brass deal with him. Whatever they decided to do with that information will have no effect on him, so he didn't really care. It would just rid him of one more annoyance that he would deal with in the future if he ever faced him again. After searching the Insurrectionists' camp, the Pelicans had landed at a designated drop zone and unloaded soldiers from the UNSC garrison on the planet. The squad leader for those soldiers was a first lieutenant who had approached Axel and saluted him. "Sir, I'm here to relieve you," said the first lieutenant as he saluted. Axel returned the salute and responded, "I stand relieved." Axel nodded, acknowledging the first lieutenant, and turned to Taylor. "Taylor, gather our belongings. It's time to head to the ship." As they boarded the Pelican, Axel's mind was already miles away, strategizing his next move. Now that he has proved the capabilities of the MCUs, they should gain a higher standing and hopefully more funding as well. The next step in his plan would be to reintroduce the Spartan program so that he can start introducing advanced genetic alteration methods into the galaxy. It would also be a step in his own body alteration. He wanted to become physically stronger than all other humans, which would make him even more powerful, since he is already smarter than everybody else. His intelligence, combined with an improved genetic makeup, would increase his future success as a military leader. Once the Pelicans landed on the carrier, the Admiral didn't even meet with Axel, but instead just ordered the ship to depart back to the facility so he can get rid of Axel. The longer Axel spent on his ship, the greater the threat he posed. So the carrier began another 2-month journey back to Algolis. Meanwhile, at UNSC headquarters, Fleet Admiral Max Ross, who is also the chairman of the UNSC, was looking at a report in his hands. "Sir, the MCUs have shown to be capable assets in the war against the Insurrectionists, and from the data submitted by Section 3, their use in the actual military could be useful as well," said General E. Gunn, who was the liaison for the UNSC Air Force. "I agree with General Gunn. Even if I prefer human Marines over robotic ones, we could still use them to improve our soldiers' combat abilities, and during times of war they could limit the number of casualties we take," said General Vincent, who was the liaison for the Marines. Fleet Admiral Ross looked over the report until the last word before he responded to the other Security Council members. "These robotic units are indeed useful. We could use them as pilots or even security forces," said Fleet Admiral Ross, as the other Security Council members nodded their heads. And this Commander Axel Woods has achieved so much in his career so far, and he's a prodigy, which should be used to advance the UNSC military in its entirety. Fleet Admiral Ross recognized the potential of Axel should he have more resources dedicated to him. Admiral Morrison, the liaison for ONI, had spoken up upon hearing this statement. "Commander Axel has indeed made considerable progress, and looking at his education, it's not a surprise. That's why I want to bring up the idea of restarting the Spartan program, as the commander specializes in genetic research." Fleet Admiral Ross nodded his head at this suggestion. "That's a great idea, Admiral. The Spartan program, if done correctly, could be the next step for humanity. For now, we will discuss this at a later date, about the Spartan program." The other members nodded, while Admiral Morrison wasn't that much affected, since in truth Oni had already begun researching more about the Orion project. In secret, as they relaunched the program on January 29th, 2491. Their knowledge already increased about their previous failures, but they would need someone who could turn the tables and push the project to the next level. At the moment, Admiral Morrison only had two people in mind. Commander Axel Woods and Dr. Catherine Halsey. Both had a history studying at the same school. After the Security Council adjourned, Admiral Morrison had left the room to go and secretly try to recruit Axel and Dr. Halsey to work on the project in secret, since the war against the Insurrectionists was slowly turning into a stalemate as the enemy gained more strength. There was no time to waste dealing with politics, and action needed to be taken now. Admiral Morrison was referring to Fleet Admiral Ross. While a Fleet Admiral, he leaned more on the political side of things rather than the military. And this is why Admiral Morrison was going to go behind his back so that he can come up with a solution to the problem before it gets out of hand. And that's where we're going to stop for today. Next time we will continue on in Chapter 11, which takes place 2 months later and after Axel has returned back to his facility on Algolis. If you liked today's video and want to keep up with the story, or you want to start right from the beginning if this is your first episode, don't forget to click the playlist that I'm going to put up in the top corner here shortly, and it'll be at the end of the video as well. But if you like the content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a future upload for the series. As always, thank you for tuning in. Take care, everybody, and have a great day.